What up, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy P. Skip. Welcome to the best half hour of your entire Tuesday. You know what time it is. It's time to get into his course. My squad with me, T-Mac.
Hola.
Chili Will.
Gracias, amigos.
Let's do this. Proverbs 29:2 in the Amplified says this. When the righteous are in authority and become great, the people rejoice. But when the wicked man rules, the people groan and sigh. I said that because the Houston Texans may be the NFL's most dysfunctional team in the league. You know, starting off, with Deshaun Watson saying, I want out of here. And just recently, like Friday, they just released J.J. Watson. And so they're showing that they're either trying to tank or somebody in leadership does not know how to win. Because all the pieces you had, right now, you could be contending for a Super Bowl with the pieces you had and now are giving away or running away. It's sad. I'm looking at the ownership and the ownership of Janice McNair and Cal McNair. These are just some of the stuff they did to just sabotage the Texans. Number one, they allowed DeAndre Hopkins to be traded for nothing. They didn't get nothing back for dude. Your number one receiver and your quarterback's favorite target and who's a Pro Bowler, you gave him away for nothing. Number two, Dwayne Brown was traded because of political beliefs. Traded him because of political beliefs, not because he wasn't doing well, not because he wasn't because he wasn't contributing. Got rid of him because of political beliefs. Traded Jadeveon Clowney was traded for virtually nothing. So you got some major pieces on offense and defense you just gave away, and nobody knows your scheme. Nobody knows what you're thinking. Nobody knows where you're going. And you didn't consult with your quarterback. You brought in a new head coach. You didn't consult with your quarterback about that. And J.J. Watt came up to you earlier and said, listen, man, I apologize on behalf of the Texans on how we've been treating you as a star player because we have not been using you to your potential. We've been wasting your potential. And so now he said, I'm out of here. So who are the Texans going to have? Because I don't know who's making these decisions, whether it's ownership, whether it's management. I don't know who's making these, but whoever they are, can't even manage a McDonald's. I'm sorry. Bro, your Burger King skills are sucky, bro. And so you look at a team that could possibly have been the best team in Texas, not just on paper, but they were winning. To now look at them as a laughing stock of Texas, and this all happened within 3 to 5 years. So what do you guys think about what's been going on? I'll let you go, Tim, and then I'll let you in after that, Will.
Well, I think you hit on a couple of excellent points. First, that the ownership and management, whoever's running this ship, is doing a job that is in much need of improvement. It's been, herky-jerky, and it's been unfortunate to watch the team go from a perennial playoff, participant and contender to, the bottom of the league and almost a laughing stock. What happened with them kind of, raiding the cupboards, if you will, getting rid of all that top talent, Hopkins that you mentioned, doing, Watson kind of cold-blooded, and now Watts, who went to ownership saying, hey, y'all, I need to talk. I want out of here is unfortunate. And what I think we're seeing, at least in some, regards, is that you have a couple of comparisons. You have ownership versus labor. I own the team. Y'all are the players. Don't get it twisted. Y'all work for me.
Right.
You also have business versus community. Sports franchises usually help a community with its identity. And to have a sports or professional sports franchise in your city, you're one of, 30 or so. It has a lot of cachet to it, and the community really gets behind it. It's one of the places where you can see even ethnic diversity, that people come together, behind the team. But if you have a ownership that looks like they're kind of cutting corners, cutting costs, this is a business decision. We're going to be as bare bones as possible so we can make as much money on the back end. That's business versus community. And then finally, you have ego versus humility. Some of this could be, hey, man, I own the team. Can't nobody tell me what to do. And you have to think that the owners, outside of being owners of these teams, in all their other spaces, they're billionaires. They are guys that walk into a room and people say yes to them more than they say no, pretty much. And they take this now to this competitive arena. You have some other competitors, and now you have some ego that is there where I think some humility could be helped. So suffice it to say, I think the team right now is being mismanaged, and it's unfortunate. And hopefully they can kind of right this ship before it's too late. And some of this damage that has been done can be a bit more long-term as opposed to a short-term hiccup.
Well.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Tim. This is a management thing, because regardless to the moves that have been made lately, the ownership has to check off on whatever the management of the team says. So the buck stops with the owners. I think the managers are not that good, and I think the owners aren't totally sure of what good management is. They should by now, because they have had success in the past, and now they got people who telling their agents, like, you know what, don't even have a conversation with the Houston Texans because I'm not accepting whatever they offering. And the ownership has to live with that. But the other thing that's very important when it comes to things like this, sports and ownership and wealth and billionaires, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you're good at managing a sports franchise. And we see that across the board. We see that with the New York Knicks. I mean, really, the New York Knicks was the laughing stock until right now. Before that, Miami Dolphins were terrible. The New York Jets, let's be honest, the New York Jets really are an afterthought when you talk about professional football. But right. I think the Houston Texans, because of their recent success and because of the type of players they've had. I mean, how do you get rid of a Deshaun Watson?
Right.
Man,
right.
How do you get rid of a J.J. Watt?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Giovanni.
No.
Javion Clowney.
Yeah,
Javion Clowney. How do you get rid of these type of players?
Or Dwayne Brown, which is an offensive juggernaut on the offensive line.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I think, and this is just me being me, I think they're trying to sell the team. And I think they're trying to hang on to as much money as they can and sell the team based on the market that professional football teams sell for. And they want to have a smaller payroll so they can keep part of the cheese. I think that's what's behind all this. I wouldn't be surprised in the next month, 2 months, maybe before the start of next season, that you hear that the Houston Texans has been bought by a new owner.
Good point.
Yeah, and I get that. But somebody in the league, the other owners should say, bro, you cannot tank because you're costing all of us money. You're costing all of us money. People don't want to buy tickets when y'all come. People don't want to come to those games. You're costing all of us money. So you just can't tank for you to make money and all of us lose. And that's kind of what I'm looking at this. I'm like, so what is the real end goal here? If you want to sell them, then sell them. What they cost and what they're worth is what they're worth. Because the bottom line is, who wants to buy a team on a low that you ain't gonna make no money with for the next 5 to 10 years because you got to build a franchise back up, versus you leaving me with something in the cupboard. Listen, if you have a choice to buy a Toyota fixer upper or getting you a Mercedes-Benz brand new, what you gonna buy? You gonna buy you a brand new Benz. You ain't gonna buy no fixer up or Toyota. And so I don't know if this is the right way to do this. I don't know if it's definitely not conducive for other players to want to come and play there. Because they're going to look at this and go, I don't care who's owner, because let's just say this. Houston is a place where people will go because it's warm.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a nice life. Houston is a nice city. It really is. But if I'm coming to play for this city, not only do I want to be a part of the Houston culture, but at least I want to play for a winning team. People go to Dallas because of their name. The Cowboys because of their name, not because they're great, because they ain't been great in 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, but they still go there.
Yeah, I think
because Jerry World's culture is come here, we gonna ball out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think those are all good points, Patrick. The
Right.
one caveat I would say is that, you know, I think two factors. Number one is that because it's Houston, that if they do sell the team, people will see that, okay, these guys did a fire sale. They want to do, you know what I'm saying, just cut bait and run. Cool. The next ownership team that comes in there, the next ownership, you know, administration or regime that comes there is going to say, hey, this is Houston, big money state, all the boosters, all the stuff that the previous owners didn't take advantage of. I'm going to tap into all of this bread that's here, all the sponsors, all the things that I can do that these jokers didn't do. Now, if they do what Will was talking about, hey, I'm gonna get rid of all these high price salaries and stuff like that so I can keep a bigger share of the cheese, the next guy could come saying, hey, I need you to give me some sort of a discount, like me buying a house that's worth $800,000, but I get it for $450,000. If I'm willing to put some sweat equity in there and do some rehab, I can pour back into that crib and its appraised value can still go back up. I just got to have the resources to be able to pour that kind of cheese into that joint. And that is some of the play that we have here as well. So I think in this case, either one of those scenarios could be the case. But I believe that because it's Houston, and as you mentioned, Pastor Skip, it is a great city, a top 10 in the U.S., you know,
number four population-wise.
Number four population, you know what I'm saying? So that has some allure that can't be erased even by bad management of a professional sports franchise. And so I think that whoever does come back in there, if the cupboards are bare, I don't think it will take that long to fill them back up, provided they got the resources and the will to pour the necessary resources into the franchise via players that come with a higher price tag.
Well, I would have to say this. I think that the team isn't losing money. I don't think they're losing money. I think they're making money. I think they've been sold out like they've always been sold out. You guys remember when the Packers was terrible? Lambeau still sold out. The Bears been garbage for the last, 10, 15 years?
Yeah.
Soldier Field still sell out.
Facts.
They still sell out. People still buy the merchandise. People still walk around talking about the Jim McMahon and the
Monsters of the Midway, 85
the Monsters of the Way in the shuffle video they
Super
did.
Bowl shuffle.
They still talk about that stuff. They still get to make. The Dallas Cowboys just made a hype video, and they had more Cowboys in it that ain't playing now than they did that are playing now.
Hey, so, but you notice, go ahead, finish.
But so this may not necessarily be about making money or losing money. This may just be about, I want to keep the money. So instead of having these type of players, I'm still gonna make the same revenue off merchandising, parking, hot dogs. But instead of paying Deshaun Watson an extra $5, $6, $7 million, I might as well have Joey Smith that I can pay less money, and I'm still gonna sell hats and t-shirts. So this is what I'm saying is strictly a business move. You see it all the time. You see it all the time. It's a business move.
Well, let me ask this question then. You know, switching over to the other team in Texas, what kind of business move was it to keep Dak Prescott out of the hype video?
I think that was intentional. I think that was intentional. Yeah. That's no accident. There's no way in the world that you can go through vetting and quality control and all of these different things and that get missed. That was intentional. So I would say because of that video, I would not be surprised if Dak Prescott does not re-sign with the Dallas Cowboys. But lucky for him, it's a huge market for quarterbacks this year.
Yep. And somebody's willing to spend the money on him.
Somebody will spend the money.
And wait for him to get healed.
Yeah, and some people are really serious about winning.
Right.
Some people are not serious about winning. Jerry's saying, hey, I ain't gonna pay Dak Prescott all this money. I can have Joey Smith at quarterback and I'm gonna make the same money. I'm not gonna give him all that money. Some people be about business and some people be about winning. We as fans, we don't understand it because we want to win. We want our team to win, but we're not the ones signing the checks. We may feel a slight bit different if I had to give Skip and I had to give Melva, I had to give Lizette half of my money, or I can have the Three Stooges and keep my money. We might have a different perspective on it.
It's called enlightened self-interest.
Yes. Yes. People do it all the time.
Let me ask you a question. How would you feel about J.J. Watt coming back home?
I would love it.
The Packers.
I would love it.
Yeah.
Because he is.
I would too.
The Packers are on his list.
I would love it.
Play for.
Now, let me say this though, Pastor. We're not getting that same J.J. Watt that was Pro Bowl. We're getting a watered down version of that. But what we are getting is a leader. We're getting a professional. We're getting somebody who raised $36 million for hurricane victims in Houston. We're getting somebody who loved the state.
Right.
So some of that, if you don't ask for no ridiculous amount of money, and don't get me wrong, he's still as good as he better than 75% of the defensive ends in the league still.
Right.
So I would love to see him come back home. I would love it. It would be great. I think to me, if he doesn't come back to Green Bay, that's going to be a shame.
Let me ask this question. Do you think maybe last year, considering what he saw and what he knows about management, that maybe he didn't go all in?
I don't think he's wired that way. Tim, what do you think? I don't think he's wired that way.
No, I think he gave, full effort just because of the guy, that litany of things that Will just talked about. I think he gives 100% of who he is. Matter of fact, him coming back from those major injuries and surgeries that he's had, I think he's one that lays it all on the line. I just think he might have just had the epiphany that because I'm a good guy, I also recognize other good guys. It was out of order. I mean, it was a great character move when he talked to Deshaun, and you mentioned it, Pastor Skip, saying, hey, man, I apologize on behalf of the franchise for wasting your talent. I mean, that was a big move for him to even say that. It wasn't necessarily even his place to say it, but he did. You know what I'm saying? He's not management, he's not ownership, but he felt compelled because of the character of who he is. So I think he gave his all. It was just a matter of, well, hey, if I don't see any change, because I've seen these jokers do a slow drip of deteriorating the team. And if they don't do a turnaround, my last straw will be if they do this. And something that they did was that last straw. He went to them at risk of his own reputation, at risk of being, you're quitting on the team and blah. Later for all of that, man, I'm a character guy, and I'm not going to lower my personal standards or ethics for now one of y'all. Y'all out of order. I want out of this place because I see it. And I believe people when they show me who they are the first time. And I think that's what it was.
Let me say this. Let me add this. Maybe it's just me again, but the sequencing and the order of how he asked to leave, they did Deshaun Watson wrong. He spoke up on behalf of Deshaun Watson. I mean,
yeah,
you got it right.
What's the quarterback?
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
No, is that the quarterback?
The receiver is DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh, DeAndre Hopkins. That's the receiver, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Deshaun Watson. Okay. He spoke up on behalf of him. Just me thinking, somebody pulled him to the side and said, hey, man, you out of order. Ownership. Say, you out of order, man. That ain't your place to be saying stuff like that. You work for us. We sign the checks. And then the next thing you know, he won't out. I think the sequencing of it is pretty peculiar.
Yeah, but you know what? But it's par for the Texans' course, though. It seems like that has been their mode of operation. It really is. That anybody who starts to make any amount of money, yeah, it may be time for you to go. So, I don't know. I don't know what they're on, but excuse me, ownership is a little different there. Speaking of ownership, I want to switch sports over to basketball. And I want to talk about our very own Milwaukee Bucks. Do you think right now the Bucks record is 16-10, and they're sitting number 2 in the Eastern Conference? And given where they are, and I thought they would have made a bigger splash in free agency than they did. And I felt like the moves they made wasn't about who they were getting. The moves they made was about who they wanted to keep, which was Giannis. But I feel like, again, this is just Skip, chapter 1, verse 8. I think Bud, maybe if he don't reach the NBA Finals, I think they may switch gears on Bud, because I think they've seen that Bud may have taken them as far as they can go. Because it seems like when he gets into playoffs, he hasn't been a coach that can make adjustments. That, hey, the 3 ain't hitting, so what else we gonna do? I feel like he should have went to either went to Lopez and say, get your behind in them blocks and play some defense, or went and got a center that could. You know, because the only inside post we have is Giannis. And the only real defense of stopper in the middle is Giannis. And so I'm looking at this and I'm going, you shooting, it'd be different if you could shoot threes, Lopez, and you were athletically enough inclined to get up and down the court. But you shooting threes and you still the last one on the other end of the court when you miss. You know, so I'm looking at this going, okay, either management's going to have to make some major league adjustments, or they're going to do something different with Bud. So I'm going to throw it to you, Willie Wade, a.k.a. Milwaukee Bucks. Where are you with this, sir?
I think that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Bud ain't going nowhere. Number one, Bud is really overachieving. We spoiled. It's not a coach out there that could get more out of this roster or the last 2 years rosters as Bud got out of it. Now, you say it seemed like he don't do well in the playoffs. No, that's well documented. He don't do well in the playoffs. It ain't no seem like you was being kind. He sucked in the playoffs.
Right.
But they tried to make a move. One of the moves that they tried to make backfired on them. Had they made that move along with what's Drew Holiday move? Yeah, with the Drew Holiday move, they would have been a little better. But the Bucks right now, as it stands, is second in the East. The Bucks are number 5 or 6 in the whole NBA. It's only 2 teams from the East that's in the top 10 in the NBA. That's the Sixers and the Bucks. The rest of the teams mostly are from the West.
Right.
So Bud is doing very well. I don't see anybody out there who would be able to do better. And last but not least, I think, we talked about the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson and those things. I think Giannis has veto power. And I think the only way that Coach Bud will be leaving if Giannis get tired of him. But as long as Giannis like him and Giannis want him to be his coach, I think he gonna be there for as long as he want to be there.
Yeah, but Giannis didn't want Kid to leave. Giannis didn't want Kid to leave.
Yeah, that was a different time though. That was pre-MVP Giannis.
But let me ask you this question, because I was talking to some inside sources that they had invited Jamal Crawford to come try out for him, and Jamal was like, "I don't even want to try out for the Bucks."
I mean, I that could be true. I don't know that to be factual or not, but that could be true. I mean, Milwaukee isn't a great destination. I mean, we here now, and all of us shredding after the show. We got to go outside, shovel snow for the second time today. Tim.
Right.
So Milwaukee ain't no great destination, ain't no great, place for people to go based on weather. But they talked to Drew Holiday and some other players, and they say, if you're young and you want to raise a family and things like that, Milwaukee, is not a bad place for a person who have lots of resources. So for that, from that standpoint, Jamal Crawford, he at his age, he don't have to go to a Milwaukee or an Indiana, or Sacramento. He can kind of pick and choose what city he wants to go to. And if I was him, at my age, and I probably wouldn't say I'm gung-ho about going to Milwaukee either.
Yeah, I think after having played, established himself as a great, player, and if he is in demand as being this hot off the bench scorer, he has his pick of the litter. So if he has 2 or 3 teams, 2 of them got to be in LA, the other one got to be in Miami, he has earned that right to kind of be picky.
Yeah.
And we aren't that pressed whether we get him or not. We're going to keep on trucking. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we're not going to take it as a personal insult that you didn't want to come here. We feel you. Move on, keep pushing. As far as Bud, I want to get back to that for a second. I think Bud is on thin ice. I think that the players love him. I think that, Giannis, particularly like you were talking about, Will, I think, it's his, he helped take Giannis to another level of player. But I think even that player, 2-time defending MVP, also defensive player of the year, the 2 for last year, MVP and defensive player of the year, he still hasn't gotten over the hump. And now the league knows that, you have no jumper. You have glaring deficiencies in your game. Can't shoot free throws, so you're going to be a liability in the clutch. We saw the other night against, I think it was Phoenix, where you took the last second shot, and the opposing players said, we thought we were real good seeing him take that jumper because we know he doesn't have one. So unless he's willing to take it upon himself, him and his coach, Buddy, saying, hey, bro, your game has to evolve a bit. The Bucks will be perennial playoff faders when they get there. Coach Bud, when he was with Atlanta, also took that team to about 65 wins in a season or 2. And he had a similar kind of, spotty roster that might have had 1 or 2 all-stars, but nothing to write home to mama about. And that team didn't do anything in the playoffs either. And I think the Bucks, when they came here, the ownership said, we want to build a championship culture here. And the fact that they've been taking steps, and we've all seen marked improvement from the new stadium to the team, winning the most games in the NBA regular season over the last 2 seasons, having all this hardware and all these different awards, that's great. But I think the challenge is that when they get to the playoffs, there's been a punch in the stomach of not getting at least to the finals that washed away all the, jovialness that this regular season stuff has, brought about. So being real, you can't say, well, hey, we are satisfied with what we've accomplished. We can give ourselves a pat on the back. We can congratulate ourselves for it, but we cannot in clean conscience say that we are satisfied with that. And it appears more and more evident that Bud can't take them to that promised land. Now, the other piece that might be a saving grace, that might give him at least 1 more season if they fall short of the finals this year, Pastor Skip, is the fact that they have 7 new players this year. The roster was almost, revamped. And even though that one player fell through, as Will had mentioned, they still are doing a filling out process. And it's not a panic button yet because they won the most games in the regular season the last 2 years and didn't get to the finals. So if they don't have a similar kind of record going into the playoffs, we've all come to know that, hey, regular season stuff don't mean jack if you can't flip that script in the playoffs and still be dominant. So I think the hope is that whatever needs to be worked out, whatever needs to be, solidified, by the time they get to the playoffs, hopefully they will have improved enough to be able. Yeah.
I agree. Well, listen, we got to get out of here. Listen, once again, thank you so much for tuning in to, again, the #1 faith-based sports talk show in the entire world, Into His Courts. My man Chili's here. My man T-Mac is here. Listen, y'all have an amazing week. Tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel, every Tuesday night from 7 to 7:30. Joy 1340 AM, 98.7 FM. Also check us out on YouTube and Facebook. Until next week, peace.